All right, let's get cooking. Welcome to the latest edition of Chin Check Sports Radio. I'm your host, JD. I want to thank you all for taking the time out to join us. And as always, we welcome any suggestions, feedback, comments, and criticisms, which improves the quality of our program, which ultimately improves your listening experience. Before we get started, I want to send all of you thank you for your tremendous support. People are slowly but surely finding out about who we are and what we do. They enjoy and respect the passion with which we speak. But as we always say here at Chin Check Sports Radio, we do this because we love it, as we are simply sharing our passions with you all as we continue to build our listening army to take over the world. 2022 wildcard playoffs, final game of the wildcard round. The Dallas Cowboys 31-14 victory on the road against the Tom Brady-led Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We at Chin Check Sports Radio are your go-to on YouTube for Dallas Cowboys coverage. Trust us, ladies and gentlemen, this is no knock to any other program, but if you listen to some of the things that we've been saying, they generally come to fruition. So we here, again, are your go-to on YouTube for Dallas Cowboys coverage. So let's jump right into our numbers here. Quarterback Dak Prescott, 25 of 33 attempts, 305 yards, 4 touchdowns. No interceptions. Tony Pollard, 15 carries, 77 yards. Ezekiel Elliott, 13 carries, 27 yards. Dak Prescott, 7 carries, 24 yards, and a touchdown. Dalton Schultz, 7 catches, 95 yards, 2 touchdowns. CeeDee Lamb, 4 catches, 68 yards, 1 touchdown. Michael Gallup, 5 catches, 46 yards, 1 touchdown. On the defensive side, Leighton Vander Esch, 9 total tackles, 5 solo. Welcome back. Deron Bland, 7 total tackles, 3 solo. Malik Hooker, 6 total tackles, 5 solo. Donovan Wilson, 6 total tackles, 4 solo. Israel Mukuamu, 4 total tackles, 4 solo. Anthony Barr, 4 total tackles, 3 solo, 1 tackle, 4 loss. Micah Parsons, 3 total tackles, 3 solo, 1 sack, 2 tackles, 4 loss. Xavier Rhodes, literally fresh off the street and off his couch, 3 total tackles, 3 solo. Jaron Kearse, 3 total tackles, 2 solo, and 1 interception. Big Jonathan Hankins, welcome back. 2 total tackles, 2 solo, 1 sack, 1 tackle, 4 loss. Luke Gifford, 2 total tackles, 2 solo. Osa Digazua, 2 total tackles, 1 solo, 1 sack. Trevon Diggs, 2 total tackles, 1 solo. Carlos Watkins, 1 total tackle, 1 solo, as well as Dante Fowler, Dorrance Armstrong, and Chauncey Golston. Folks, if you listened to us at Chin Check Sports Radio, you would never go wrong. We stated the keys to victory, and we made it very clear that certain things needed to happen for the Cowboys to emerge victorious in this game. Is number 1, again, folks, go back and listen to the broadcast that we did last week, doing a preview of this game. We said number 1, Dak Prescott could not have any interceptions. We didn't even say not even interceptions return for scores. We're talking about interceptions, period. It couldn't happen. Dak Prescott had 0. We stated that Dak Prescott had to start the game off relatively quickly. He cannot afford to be sleepwalking through halftime, through the third quarter, and all of a sudden make a miraculous comeback in the fourth quarter. If you take away the first 2 offensive possessions, that is exactly what Dak Prescott did. So when we stated that Dak Prescott could not have any turnovers, check. When we stated that Dak Prescott had to come out from the first quarter and play his tail off and establish the tone and set the pace, check. We also stated that the offensive line had to win battles because they were losing, they lost battles against the Washington Commanders. And the Cowboys' offensive line, even with a makeshift offensive line, with Tyler Biadasz back at center, they decided to start future Hall of Famer Jason Peters at tackle, sensational rookie Tyler Smith, who was a left tackle. They moved him inside to left guard. So the Cowboys' starting offensive line to start this game was Jason Peters at left tackle, Tyler Smith at left guard, Tyler Biadasz at center, future Hall of Famer Zach Martin at right guard, and future Hall of Famer Tyron Smith at right tackle. Jason Peters gets hurt, and obviously was blocking very well. He gets hurt. He has a hip injury. Cowboys put back Connor McGovern because according to Mike McCarthy, he felt that against the Tampa Bay defense, they can have better pass protection with Jason Peters at tackle and Tyler Smith at guard. I really wasn't opposed to that. I thought actually was a great coaching move. But when Jason Peters got hurt, they put Connor McGovern back in as guard, kicked out Tyler Smith back at a left tackle at his the position he's played mostly this season. And again, that kid has played very well despite objections from Cowboys fans, and we're on record supporting the pick because the Cowboys have drafted well offensively in the last decade or so, which includes Hall of Famers. And this kid has played very well. I know there's tape and film for everything, but go back and look at some of the plays he made when he was blocking Vita Vea one-on-one with no help. This kid has a natural aggression that we stated that we loved. Some of his fundamentals were a little bit flawed, which resulted in some holding penalties in college that resulted in the same thing in the pros, but that's more of coaching, his natural aggression to make plays. We like this kid. So again, when you guys do your 360 analysis or this degree analysis, go look up some of them plays where he was blocking Vita Vea one-on-one and held his own. I'm talking about moved him out of position and everything. So we stated that one of the keys the Cowboys to win this game was the offensive line establishing themselves and winning battles. Check. So let's review. Dak Prescott could not have any exceptions. Check. Dak Prescott could not wait until the second half to start playing football. He had to come out early and start playing ball. Check. The offensive line had to establish themselves. Check. And lastly, we stated that the defensive line, the pass rush, is going to have to come with it. And that's what they did. Micah Parsons, from the opening whistle, was in the backfield, swatting down balls, backing down balls, because again, they had to protect a secondary that really, opposite of Trevon Diggs, was very questionable. So we said that the Cowboys pass rush that pretty much, in terms of real dominance, have been non-existent in the last month of the season. And we stated that they need to have some type of magic elixir to get back to what they were the first 8, 9, 10 some odd weeks. And that's exactly what happened. Even though you can say the sack numbers were, quote, low, but they were constantly harassing Tom Brady, especially Micah Parsons. That once had a beautiful spin move. You had that resulted in a sack, him and Dorrance Armstrong. You had Dorrance Armstrong making plays. Again, you had Micah Parsons batting down screen passes and quick passes. Big Jonathan Hankins was creating havoc. So this is definitely what the Cowboys needed from their defensive line to establish that dominance again. And it's something that we said it would need to happen. So again, Dak Prescott, no INTs. Check. Dak Prescott had to start the game off quickly. Check. Offensive line had to establish your dominance. Check. Defensive line had to establish your dominance. Check. Folks, all those things happened and you got the result that we got in the game. Again, listen to us at Chin Check Radio, folks. It will save you a lot of headache because we call these things. We know our team. We have been watching this team ever since we were kids, so we understand how they think and the makeup and the maturity of this team. You listen to us, you definitely will go far. But of course, at Chin Check Sports Radio, we do not gloss over wins, nor do we overreact to losses. Of course, the Cowboys, the effort alone is stellar. We definitely want to give Mike McCarthy a lot of credit for being under the pressure. We definitely want to give Kellen Moore for calling an excellent game plan. We thought, he definitely righted the ship this day. And on commentary tonight, and even text with friends of ours during the during the game, we stated that Tony Pollard needs to have the ball in his hands more than Ezekiel Elliott. Tony Pollard is clearly the better running back. He's clearly the faster running back, the more explosive running back. You can make arguments whether he's more durable or not, but when Tony Pollard puts the ball in his hands, plays tend to happen. Zeke is not that back anymore. No shade, no slight, no diss. It's just what I see on the football field. Troy Aikman echoed those same sentiments right after I texted good buddies when I told him, hey, Tony Pollard needs a ball in his hand more than Zeke. He should be number one back. Troy Aikman even said it right afterwards that Tony Pollard is the better back. He definitely needs a ball in his hands, and that's exactly what Kellen Moore did. So again, we have been very critical of Kellen Moore. He will give him his props. He called a game of games today, auditioning for maybe head coaching jobs, and that's okay, but he did a excellent job. So we definitely want to give him all the credit in the world. Again, Tony Pollard played well. We're going to give Dak all the credit world. Again, the criticisms were warranted. They were definitely justified. But Dak came out and he definitely answered the bell and played a well of a game. No questions asked. Now, of course, as we stated, we don't gloss over wins, nor do we overreact to losses. And does somebody want to check if kicker Brett Maher owes a bookie some money? Folks, it was inexplicable. It was shocking. In some cases, disgusting. Watching this man in a wild card game missing extra points. Folks, I didn't say missed field goals. I said extra points. Brett Maher was sounding a lot like LeBron James. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4. The man missed 4 extra points in the wildcard game. Luckily, the game was so far ahead it didn't matter, but that's not the kind of performance that you want at critical times like in the playoff, because points can be at a premium. So this score, folks, actually should have been worse. And it was shocking to watch. I mean, that's all we're going to say. We don't know what happened. Even at points on the game, we were adamant that, hey, can we just go for the 2-point conversion? Don't even let him kick. And it was one time where the Cowboys decided to go for it on 4th down as opposed to putting him in the game to kick the field goal. I agree with that. He ended up making the extra point, but that man should be cut. Now, yes, you might say with G Chincheck, that's an overreaction, but we don't have time for this foolishness while this team is trying to make a playoff run. He has one job, is to kick the ball. And you can't make any kicks in Tampa, Florida. That's a problem because, again, we are students of history. Last in the 2021 season opener, missed field goals and missed extra points cost us an opening season win against said Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So those things can't happen. Jerry needs to be holding tryouts tomorrow, first thing in the morning. We just can't have that. It was sad to see. We did not agree with other Cowboys fans saying that he should try to kick his way through it. We don't have time for that. You had enough preparation, enough time to get yourself ready for the game. And again, you're kicking extra points. I get it. They moved the extra point back further to give it more suspense and drama, but it's still a professional kicker. We'll give you 1 kick. That's fine. We'll give you 2 kicks. 4 missed extra points, that is inexcusable. No. We can't have that. A message needs to be sent. If you're not going to do your job, you need to get the hell out of town. It's just that damn simple. We just don't have time for that. That was some of the bad of this game. It was a lot of good, a lot of great, but that was the most glaring thing where even your casual fans who really don't watch football, but who watch the playoffs or they watch the Cowboys are hitting us up saying, hey man, what's going on with your kicker? So that's bad. Even your casual football fans are watching in just pure disbelief as to what they're saying. So that just can't happen. Sorry folks, that just can't happen. We always say that how this team has to be able to handle success and whether they're mature enough to handle it. We had an issue on a clear onside kick where the Buccaneers were trying to do an onside recovery. Noah Brown muffs that, and Tampa Bay has another shot, to try to make the game even competitive. Now you can say with Chincheck, okay, the game was out of reach. What did it matter? But it's those little things that makes a championship football team. Those things shouldn't happen. We don't like stuff like that. Be prepared. Be ready at all times. Don't care if you're up by 50 points. You don't get comfortable until the clock hits 0. And those things shouldn't happen on a clear, obvious onside attempt. The ball comes right to Noah Brown, and he drops the ball, and Tampa Bay recovers it. That's a problem. The very next play, there was clearly a miscommunication in the secondary where maybe Xavier Rhodes thought he was going to have help by the safety, and Mike Evans runs right past him, and we're talking about literally the ball is right off of his fingertips. By the way, somebody want to ask Mike Evans if the Cowboys are still predictable, but you know what? That's neither here nor there. We're not going to throw it in and be petty, but somebody should ask that question about us being predictable and being bland and whatever comments that he made. But somebody should ask him that. Cowboys, first time they defeated Tom Brady. Let that sink in. So 7-1. Well, you could say 1-7 versus Tom Brady, but the 1 is definitely where it mattered the most, and that was definitely the playoffs. first road win since 1993, which was actually the NFC Championship game against the San Francisco 49ers. Let that part sink in, folks. We were in the 6th grade when that happened, a long time ago. So again, we're kind of showing our age here. We told you we've been around for a little while now. So again, a stellar performance by the Cowboys. I believe even broke 8 straight playoff road losses or some to that effect. So a lot of streaks were broken, and definitely for the good. Now, with that being said, a great victory on the road. But at this moment, the Cowboys need to get over it. They need to be on the plane right now as we are recording the broadcast, as we're going to edit this broadcast, as you are listening to this broadcast overnight. Cowboys need to be on the plane back to Dallas, have a good night's sleep, and be ready to rock and roll. I would say do a light little practice by the evening time. Just a little walkthrough and start getting to work Wednesday, because the job does not get easier. You're on the road against San Francisco, and they are a tough team to beat. We owe them one for last year, and there's a particular big diesel 650-pound deadlifting San Francisco fan listening to this broadcast right now. Yes, brother, we owe you one too. There's a certain dude that cuts hair, who I've known for almost a decade, who's a big-time San Francisco fan. We owe you one too. But Cowboys, here is our concern going into the game next week. We don't want these folks getting complacent, because this team historically has, especially in the last maybe 20 years or so, maybe 15 years or so, that when they get a, quote, demon or a monkey off their back, or now the pressure is off them, you start to get complacent. Because again, that piss poor performance against Washington netted a lot of criticism, and they heard it from the quarterback to the coach, to the offensive coordinator, to the defense, everything. So the talk this week is which Cowboys team is going to show up. And of course, you have Cowboy fans on Twitter. Yeah, you see Dak Prescott, and what you going to say about Dak, and blah, 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 blah. Dak did what he was supposed to do. We're not going to pin the medal on his chest. He played a great game. He did a great job. But you're not going to tell me that the criticism that Dak faced, especially in the last month, was not warranted. So again, all the credit in the world. This team, we've seen this before. Let's go back to 2009. Cowboys finally break the playoff jinx. They finally win a playoff game since at the time was 1996. Which I believe they win a playoff. I believe they did win a playoff game in '96. It was after the Super Bowl season. So they have a big long playoff drought from '96 on. In '98 they made the playoffs. They didn't win. In '99 they made the playoffs. I believe in '98 they were knocked out by the Arizona Cardinals. In '99 they were knocked out by the Minnesota Vikings. In 2003, in Bill Parcells' first season, they were knocked out by the Carolina Panthers in the wild card game. In 2006 was the infamous Romo bot snap against Seattle. 2007 was the number 1 seed loss to the eventual Super Bowl champions, the New York Giants. So in 2009, the pressure was on the Dallas Cowboys to finally win a playoff game since 1996. They defeated the Philadelphia Eagles, beat them handily. The very next week against Minnesota, they got crushed. So I've seen this before, where they silence all the naysayers and then get crushed the following week. 2018, hell, I can make an argument in 2014. They beat the Detroit Lions in an epic wildcard game that we had the privilege of being there, and the atmosphere was crazy. The very next week, they lose against the Green Bay Packers. Obviously, the Dez Bryant catch. We always say that not only was the Dez Bryant catch a bad call, great running back that year, DeMarco Murray had a critical fumble that really cost us some points, and the Cowboys couldn't stop a one-legged Aaron Rodgers. Let's fast forward to 2016. Cowboys are the number 1 seed. They get upset by the Green Bay Packers. 2018, Dak Prescott wins his first playoff game against the Seattle Seahawks. That year, the Cowboys had the number 1 run defense in the league with a rookie Leighton Vander Esch. Jalen Smith had an all-pro season. The very next week against the eventual Super Bowl bound LA Rams, the Cowboys defense literally got ran off for over 200 and something yards. So again, they felt good winning a playoff game in 2018. The very next week in the Divisional Round, literally the run defense stayed home, because the game against Seattle was a home game, and in 2018, on the road at the LA Coliseum, the run defense stayed back in Texas, and the Cowboys ended up losing that game. Now, of course, somebody on Twitter tried to convince me, well, it came out in one play. No, your run defense gave up over 20-something yards, and it was rather embarrassing. So this team needs to stay focused. They don't need to be feeling themselves. They don't need to be talking to the press too much. Fly back into Dallas, fly back into Texas, go and get a good night's sleep, have a little walkthrough, maybe watch some film tomorrow, and then, well, I guess for some of you, watch film today, because some of you are going to listen to the broadcast on Tuesday. So watch film today, and then tomorrow it's time to go to work, because again, you're playing a San Francisco 49ers team who is loaded on defense. They have one of the top-ranked defenses. So again, playing perfect football again is going to be a premium. Again, last year we stated going into the game that Dak Prescott couldn't start slow and they couldn't have the penalties. Well, those things cost them last year. The quarterback, Brock Purdy, I know they're ready to build a statue for him, but against Seattle, he can be had a little bit. Remember, he's still a rookie, so let's have the pass rush going after him a little bit. So no reason to think, I'm sure the Cowboys are the underdog going on the road against San Francisco. We haven't checked the odds yet. If we're wrong, then so be it. But no reason to think that the Cowboys are outmatched on the road against San Francisco. But again, they cannot afford to get complacent, because I just gave you 3 scenarios in which the team got complacent after exercising a, quote, demon of not winning a playoff game. They won a huge game today, possibly retired Tom Brady. We don't need them getting comfortable saying, okay, we good, and now we can breathe and kind of wipe the sweat off our brow. No, stay focused what they're doing, because again, they're going to be in for a dog fight next week on the road. So focus, but definitely great job to the team. But until the next time, it is a Chin Check Radio. Again, our email address, chinchecksportsradio@gmail.com. Once again, our email address is chinchecksportsradio@gmail.com. And until the next time, we'll be back next week to do our review of the Divisional Round. So you can call this episode Review of the Wild Card Round and Preview of the Divisional Round. Next week, it'll be the review of the Divisional Round. Until the next time.